Surf Splendor.
So one really cool experience I had that also stands out was I had in my mind I had for shaping I had a couple places. I had okay, I gotta shape some boards. I gotta go to Hawaii. I gotta go to Southern California. Well, we could just say California for these mecca or hubs for surfboard manufacturing. I gotta go to the Gold Coast. Those were the three big places in my mind where surfboard manufacturing has a long history and culture, and I'm going to learn the most there, right? And I got to get out of my comfort zone is the biggest thing I got to do, or I'm not going to be able to learn as much ultimately. And for some reason, the other places I had in my mind is I always wanted to go to. I was like, I'd love to go to Japan. That's a cool, weird thing I don't know anything about. I'd love to go to Brazil, and I'd love to shape in Europe. And then if I can pull all these off by the time I'm an old man, you know, I'll be pretty content, you know.
Yeah.
So the hardest one to me, I was like, what's the hardest? I read a book called Eat the Frog. You heard that?
No.
There's a great book out there called, it's a short book called Eat the Frog. And say if you have to eat a frog for a meal, just grab it, eat the frog first. That's the people like frog legs, but if you got to eat a whole frog, eat the frog, get it over with, rip the band-aid off, And so I was like, okay, Japan, that's going to be a challenging, hard one. That's going to be one that I don't know any Japanese people. I don't have any Japanese friends. I don't speak Japanese. I just got to go. And so I looked at, they have a trade show over there called Interstyle. Have you heard of that?
Yep.
Yeah. Have you been to Japan?
No, I haven't, but it's on the top of my list.
All right. This is going to be speaking to you directly then.
Okay, perfect.
It was February. I think it was like the day after Valentine's Day. I had gotten dumped by a girlfriend, whatever the case, went on a date with some random girl and was like, what am I doing? I look on the Travelocity. I found like a $400 ticket or $600 ticket, whatever it was, to Japan, LAX to Japan. I'm like, screw it. I'm going. This is my chance. Interstyle trade show is coming up here in January. I'm going, and I'm going to bring a batch of boards to the trade show. I don't have a trade show booth. Rather than like go to Surf Expo with a bag of boards and like not having a booth, not having any connections. It's pretty hilarious concept. So I buy a ticket. Next day, I mean, I'm talking unplanned. Like I bought the ticket for the next day. I went to the factory. At the time, I was at Sharp Eye, glassing my boards with those guys. So I go there. I'm like, you guys got any connections? I'm like, I mean, you kind of want to make the connections before you go, man. I wouldn't just go there. I'm like, I'm flying out tomorrow. They're like totally laughing. All the guys are like, dude, you're an idiot. Well, go have a good time, I guess. And I throw like 5 boards in a board bag. I fly out. There was at the time we were making Hydroflex boards. There were like those vacuum bagged epoxy, but it was cool because they were doing poly boards, poly with epoxy outside, vacuum bagged, and they were working pretty good, and we had some success with those. But I heard they had a booth for skateboards, so I reached out to them. Dude, I'm coming to Japan. I think I heard you guys have a booth. I'm kind of know you guys. And they're like, I mean, can I kick in some money to put some boards in your booth? And like, we don't really have room for it. We have our Japanese sales guys there. I don't know how stoked they would be or not, but that was my only little maybe connection.
Yeah.
So I get there. This is the hardest, most challenging trip of my life. Japanese, I've been to Indonesia, I've been a bunch of other places, Asian cultures, and so I have a general idea with it. But what I didn't think about for Japan was, I don't know, a lot of surf destinations you go to, you meet surfers and they're willing to speak English, or younger people, they know a little English, even if you know none of the language. Someone wants to try to help you out if you can. The other key is you have to travel solo. You start traveling with 3 or 4 friends, ultimately, I don't want to pin on this. I'm friends with a lot of Brazilians. I actually really like Brazilians. Brazilians have a bad reputation globally because they travel with packs of them. A lot of them
Yeah.
do, not all
Right.
of them. Americans have a bad reputation for being sloppy and loud. I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
vouch for that. But I found, I had to travel solo. Don't go anywhere with a bunch of people. So, and if you travel with a friend, you and your friend are going to be lost, and you're going to hover around each other, and you're going to create a little fence of safety around yourself, and you're only going to talk to each other, and you're
Yeah.
never going to really experience the culture. So if you go solo, you're either screwed or you're going to figure something out. Well, Japan was my trip that I felt kind of like I was way out of my league as far as language barrier. I think I had whatever money was in my wallet. I get there. I bought a ticket for 4 days. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have any local connection per se. And I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. And worst case scenario, I just go get a hostel somewhere and hang out in the hostel for 4 days and come home, I guess. So I get there, I get a ride, figure out a way to get a ride to the trade show. I get there, I'm in Tokyo, it's a big city. And I'm walking into Tokyo Convention Center with a board bag. And I walk in, I'm like, I'm gonna go get lunch. I'm hungry. And I walk into this restaurant. I leave the board bag outside the restaurant, like where I could kind of see it. Hopefully, no one's gonna steal it. I go in there, I open the menu, and I'm like, shit, I don't even know what's high or low price wise.
Right.
Definitely don't know what I'm eating here, but I don't know any Japanese characters. And I open my wallet and I'm like, crap, I didn't even like mark which dollar or which bills are high or lows. I don't know if this is a $1 bill or $100 bill. And there's no way to know, like unless you have it pre-written. I didn't have a Japanese translated book. There wasn't like these like Google Translator apps kind of thing like there are so easily now. I didn't know what the hell I'm doing. And I go in there and I remember thinking like, oh my God, the waiter comes to me and I'm like, speak English? Anybody speak English? Like, please, trying to be as respectful as I can. I looked up like the generic hi, hello, basic, where's the bathroom kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I had these written down in my wallet, the basic words that I could figure out. But I'm like, I just looked at him, I rubbed my belt, I'm like sign language style. And then he's like, okay, what do you want? He starts laughing. And I go to the front, the cashier, and I just did a full leap of faith and opened my wallet. And I'm like, hopefully you guys aren't going to rob me. Take some of these bills and feed me. I don't know what I'm giving you. And so they laughed. They brought out like a water and, I had some soup or something, whatever. And they took a couple bills. And I'm like, I don't even know how much you just paid for that. I'm a
Yeah.
freaking idiot. This is horrible. What? I was just like, what was I thinking coming here with no connection? No, I'm an idiot. And I remember kind of feeling sad and kind of down on myself. And I remember like leaving the restaurant and I walked into the convention center and I sat down on the floor and I'm just like shaking my head like, okay, you're a fairly intelligent person. This was a dumb move. It's all about being prepared. You don't need to show up places unprepared. You don't need to do all this. And I was starting to think that everything that I was doing was wrong, you know? And I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'm just going to go back to the hotel room that I booked and I just call it a night. This isn't going to work out. I have to find a surfer who speaks English. Worst case scenario, hook this guy up with a surfboard and at least maybe my trip won't be a failure. And I'm looking by and there's like hundreds of Japanese guys walking by and they're not even, they're very respectful culture. They don't want to like, no one's even making eye contact with me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even see. Okay, maybe I can find like an Australian guy here. That was like where my head was at. And I didn't see anything. I look over and I see this guy walk by with tattoos, all this, and I was like, is that Christian Fletcher? Randomly, Christian Fletcher's at this trade convention center. And I see him walk by, and I'm sure he's been there a million times. I don't know him from a hole in the wall. I am not friends with him. I only know him from his name as much as you probably have a better connection to him than I do. This is a very famous pro surfer from the magazines. That's all I know. And I'm watching him walk by, and I'm on the floor, just ate this weird restaurant, and I'm like, no shit, there's Christian Fletcher. That's kind of cool. I don't know, like obviously, you know, he probably. I'm thinking to myself like, he probably freaking used to make bank in Japan back in the day. He probably had these sponsors. He's probably got tons of connections here. And as he walks by, I'm thinking, holy shit, he speaks English. This is my best opportunity. I don't know how I'm going to approach this, but like, I'm screwed right now. I don't know anybody who speaks English. It'd be nice to hear somebody say hello back, you know?
Yeah.
Go up to him, and he's in a hurry. He's going somewhere. And I'm like, hey, how's it going? I really don't want to. I'd be curious if he probably won't see this, but if he does see this, he probably, if he remembers, he'd probably laugh. And I go up to him like, hey, my name's Adam. I really don't want to interrupt you. I recognize who you are. Can I offer? I'll buy you a beer or anything, or give you some money. I just got a really quick freaking request. I need you to introduce me to a Japanese surfer who speaks English. That's all I'm asking for. I don't want to waste too much time. And he looks at me and he's like it was like a scam or something. He's like, man, I got to be honest. I'm not going to the surf trade show. There's a snowboard trade show next door. I got to be at like a meeting here in like 5 minutes. I'm like in a hurry. And I'm like, he said that to me. Basically like, look, guy, I don't know who you are, what you want.
Yeah.
And I put my head down, and he like saw that I was like all bummed out, and he was like, I mean, you can tag along with me to the snowboard thing. I don't know if it's going to help you. Maybe someone there speaks English. Yeah, hold on. I got this board bag. Let me grab it. I grab the board bag and I'm dragging it, and he's literally like, so what's your deal, dude? I'm like, and I know obviously his dad shaped boards and built boards. I'm like, I'm a surfboard shaper. Maybe there's a connection, you know, and I don't know anybody. I'm just trying to make my way, make some connections over here and meet somebody that speaks English. That's it. And he's like, that's cool. You just flew over here. Don't know anybody. That's kind of radical. Cool. Yeah, man, I wish I could help you, but I'm on a short schedule here, and I'm going to the snowboard convention center. It's a bunch of gnarly pro Japanese snowboarders, but there's a ton of snow right now. Like they're all going snowboarding like tonight. And I got to link up with this guy and do this, whatever he's doing. And but yeah, they for sure speak English, so maybe they know somebody. So we get to the snowboard convention, or we're the other side of the building, and we're in here, and he's a rock star over there. Like he's extremely famous. Not that it matters, but like the walk to the booth was like, 100 people took his photo kind of thing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. And we get there, and he's meeting with the guys. They do their, I don't know what, whatever sponsorship or connection business deal they were doing. So he goes and talks to the guys, and he's like, hey man, nice to meet you, Adam. These are the guys. I got to roll, but like, if you want to go snowboarding, like these are the guys to go snowboarding with. They're like, these are the top Japanese snowboarders, like straight up. So they're the guys. If you want to go snowboarding, they'll probably take you snowboarding. And he says to them, he's like, hey, take this guy snowboarding with you tonight or wherever. And I'm like, dude, I started talking to the guys, and they were super nice. They think I'm friends with Christian Fletcher. Right. And I'm like, I don't know him at all. I just met him like a minute ago. Like we have no connections at all. And he's like, oh, well, yeah, we don't. He goes, I know I'm friends with Rock Dance. You know Rock Dance? It's like the main factory, one of the a longtime surfboard factory over there. I'm good friends with those guys, but I can't take you there. We got to go on the snowboard trip. We got to go tomorrow. It's going to be amazing. We're going to go backcountry, all this stuff tomorrow. But then we'll be back at the convention at the end of the show. If you want, maybe you can leave your board bag with the Rock Dance guys. They have like a huge booth, and then we're going to leave. But you want to join us if you want? Just I can give you like you got to catch these like 10 trains, and then we'll have a guy meet you at the train station, pick you up, and we'll be stoked to take you. We got all the gear. Don't worry. I think I was in flip flops, believe it or not. Was the fun? I didn't know it was gonna be that cold. January in Japan. I show up in flip flops. So he takes me over to the surf thing because they're all getting ready to leave. He drops me off at the Rock Dance booth. Rock Dance is like, and I didn't know about them at all. they're like a super, super established, long time, freaking legendary surfboard factory in Japan. And the guys are like, okay. And they knew who the snowboarders were. And we're like, hey, you're rolling with them. And they're like, hey, is it okay if we leave a couple surfboards in the back corner of your booth? And they're like, I guess. So I leave, ask these guys, thank you very much. Haven't met a single surfer who speaks English yet. And I'm like, kind of like, this trip's kind of a wash, but if I can go snowboarding, screw it. I'm going to go snowboarding with these guys. So I take these train in the morning. I get on this train. I literally, they wrote an instructional page in Japanese that was like, hold this up to anybody. It's like, I'm a dumbass American. I'm lost. Put me on this train to this train. And it was like, if I'm in this train station, put me on this one. And I was literally walking up around like an idiot. Like, I have no bag with me, no nothing. My only board bag is at the trade show, and I'm taking these trains solo, praying these guys are going to pick me up. All right.
Crazy.
Like, just hilarious. I mean, just like a lost puppy here at this point. And the whole time I'm thinking, like, this was the worst idea ever. And I'm on day 2 of my 4-day trip. And now I'm lost on a train station with this stupid sign. I just completely freaking, again, blew it. I get to the final destination, or at least what someone told me was, and I'm sitting there. No one's there. It's snowing. It's cold. I'm in flip-flops. I'm like, I got to get some socks. I don't even know what the bills are, like the numbers are on my money. And I think I didn't have a credit card at the time either. Something stupid like that. Like, I just had this cash on me, and I think I had a debit card. And I'm like, I don't remember. I think my credit card might have been maxed out. I don't really remember what the deal was, but I remember being like kind of stressing on my bills that I had.
Yeah.
And sure enough, some Japanese guy rolls up, speaks zero English, zero, like not even like it was this awkward car ride, 2 people who can't speak the same language riding together. And I remember him like taking me up to this mountain, and he's all like, you want a beer or whatever? He hands me a beer. We're like in the middle of the woods somewhere, pull over in this little minivan, have a beer. And then we get to the top of the mountain, and they have a snowboard for me, gear, the whole shebang. None of the guys really spoke English at all.
Wow.
I went backcountry snowboarding with these like gnarly pro Japanese snowboarders. We're doing like flips and stuff. And I was just like, just trying to keep up. Like, I can snowboard a little bit, but I'm definitely not that good at it. And, but yeah, it was like the best day of waist, chest deep powder I've ever experienced in my life. Incredible.
Insane that it all worked out.
Well, that's the whole story of like, you don't know until you go,
Yeah.
and like, you don't like in that, then at some point it got to this point of like, I remember afterwards, I'm like just over the moon again on this little situation. And the guy's like, okay, we're going to go to a natural hot springs. Killer. And I remember thinking like, they're like, I saw these pictures of like hot springs in Japan with these like howler monkeys or whatever monkeys they had, like snow monkeys are there.
Yeah.
So I remember like, I want to bring my camera to the hot springs to maybe get a picture of the natural hot springs and a snow monkey or something. And all the guys were staring at me like, no, 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 no camera, no camera. And they're laughing. I'm like, why are they giving me such a hard time about the camera? And then we get there, and they like, it's like, we go into this office. He separates into like they separate guys and men and women, and it's a natural hot spring. And he's like, okay, you need to go shower first, and then we're going to go in here. I walk in the shower. There's like 20 old men butt naked in line for this little hose to scrub. And I'm like, everyone's getting naked. And I'm like,
why.
this is a nude hot spring? Is this like a thing? I have no idea. And I'm like, dude, what am I walking myself into?
Oh my gosh.
So I end up getting butt naked and getting this hot spring with all these Japanese dudes. And it's like a foot of water. And I'm like, what am I in? Like, am I in some sort of freaking like brothel house or something? Yeah. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I guess it's just a thing in the mountains up there. I don't know. And it was just super awkward. I'm like, okay. And by the way, nobody speaks English. So I have no idea what I'm at.
Hey,
when
hold on. Let me pause your story real quick. I'm about to pee my pants. Give me a bathroom break.
all right, cool.
All right. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt at the peak of the
It is
story, but
It is St. Patrick's Day. I actually grabbed a beer.
smart, smart. It's a late start for St. Patrick's Day. Anyways, carry on.
So here I am, and I haven't even thought about this story in so many years too. It's funny. Here I am naked in a Japanese hot springs, only with men, and not a single person speaks English, and it's snowing. And I remember thinking, like, this is the most awkward, uncomfortable situation I've ever found myself in. I can have zero. I don't know that you even have conversations in these. And I was still the whole time wrapping my head around, like, there was a wall and all the women are on the other side and all the men are on this side. And I'm thinking, like, how did I find myself in this situation? This is so ridiculous. I kind of just want to get out of here at this point now, but whatever. I'm not going to, like, even if I wanted to leave, I couldn't leave. I don't even know how to leave at this point. I'm in the mountains somewhere. So whatever, we go in this hot springs, put our clothes back on, we leave, and now I'm like kind of just feeling awkward, like, man, that was, not that I don't know, like, be mean and hate, like, not against any homosexualities or whatever, but I was like feeling pretty gay that wanted to bring a camera in there. I was like, this is, and like I said, I have nothing wrong, nothing against anybody. Like, I'm not at all trying to hate on anybody here. But it was like, this was just awkward, uncomfortable. You got to, like, I just wasn't expecting it. I didn't know what I was going into. But okay, that happened. And so here we are. We get back. They drive me back down to Tokyo. And then I think I still had a hotel room. So you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
So yeah, they dropped me off. Somehow I got back. They dropped me off at the place I was crashing at in Tokyo. And then the next day, I got a ride back to the trade show to go pick up my bag of boards for my last day to fly home. And I was like, okay, this was a fail. It was a cool experience, cool trip, but it was a failure as far as surfboard sales. I didn't meet anybody. I'm not going to sell any boards in Japan. It's not going to work out. Right. And then I go back to go pick up my board bag and just tell the guys, thank you for letting me stash my boards in your booth, which wasn't that cool. If people who don't know the trade show is limited space, and the rock dance guys had opened up the board bag and they pulled the boards out, and they were like, down one of the younger sons, I'm blanking on his name, hero, something like that. He was actually shaped some boards too, and was like, man, these boards are pretty nice. Where are you staying at? Who are you here with? Who's your sales rep? Who's selling these boards for you? I said, nobody. I just came here on my own, thinking, like, would you want to sell them? And he's like, no, I can't sell them. He's like, we have our own line. We carry our own lines of boards. We work with these guys, and these guys. But my father runs the whole company. If you want, we kind of need a little help shaping right now. There's a couple boards you could shape and make a little cash before you fly home. I'm at this point, I'm just happy to speak English with somebody. And I was like, yeah, I just went snowboarding with these guys and none of them spoke a lick of English to me the whole time. It was kind of a wild experience. He's like, wow, yeah, I know those names. They're gnarly snowboarders. That's cool. You got to see that though. But yeah, let's come the last day. I'll take you to the beach. You can see the ocean. Waves were flat, so we didn't surf. And then it was, come by the factory. Dude, the factory was legit, and ended up shaping a handful of boards there, just go shaping for him. And then through him, made a connection. They paid me decent, paid for my plane ticket, basically covered my whole expenses of the trip, which completely wasn't planned on. And then I kind of became loose friends with this, local factory guy. And he said, yeah, the Japanese culture has they're really into kind of loyalty, and there's just they have more respect than any culture on the planet that I've ever seen. It's amazing. And he's like, we have our line of boards that we've been working with the guys for, however many 45 years or whatever it was, that like we don't just easily bring on a new label. We try not to do that. We stay loyal to our brands that we have. But if you want, I can connect you with somebody to help sell some boards for you. And sure enough, he connected me a guy. And later on, that guy ended up ordering a couple batches of boards. So that was my first connection and kind of account over there. And, they sold a couple shops. And then some years later, now we have a guy, 4-Star Distribution, who does our boards and carries it. And we actually license over there and build some boards over there. But it all started with this wild 4-day trip that could have been a complete failure, or let's just say kind of an expensive 4 days, and ended up actually being a super, progressive and good. Got my foot in the door in Japan, and now we sell boards in Japan. I don't sell a ton of boards there, but have friends and connections there, and it's all correlated. So
That is amazing.
The original concept, and it, like, forget surfboards. We're just talking just life in general. Like, if you have any desire to go to Japan, just go.
Yeah.
And don't wait till you have this like, oh, I'm going to go with this guy, because they have it dialed already.
Right.
If you want to go, I mean, if you want to surf big waves, it's not a bad idea to go with someone who knows how to do it. But anything, like if you wait till you have the perfect situation lined up, that's never going to come around,
Or it's the trip that you don't plan ends up becoming the better story and the better experience.
I would say Japan. I've only been to Japan one time, and I went for 4 days. That's hardly even going there,
Yeah.
It's like,
you had a more
it's like the Australians, like, yeah, man, I went to Vegas once and check out the Big Apple. Yeah. You didn't see the United States, everywhere is relative, but like, you gotta just go. But if you don't have to go by yourself. But if you have the opportunity to go by yourself, where, you don't have children, you don't want, once you get married and have kids, it's a little different.
Yeah.
Or it's a little more, it needs to be planned out a little bit better. How about that? It should be. But yeah, a lot of people know who you are. This podcast gets heard by a lot of people.
Yeah.
You could I can guarantee you could go buy a plane ticket today at the airport and fly anywhere that has any sort of surfing involved. You could make somebody, have someone to catch up and have a beer with or have dinner with, and then get in with whatever you want to learn, and
yeah,
that's
no,
a lot.
I think it is great advice, especially a lot of people listening, younger people too, might think that because they don't have it planned out, or because they're solo, they don't want to travel. Maybe they're waiting for the perfect scenario or a partnership or something like that to where they can go do those things and see the world. But I think your advice is key. It's like, just get out there and do it. Just go now,
Well, the big fish in the big fish in the small pond, it doesn't matter what you want. You want to get into construction, you want to get into automobiles, you want to be a guitar player. If you're the best guitarist in your whole town, and you learn how to play this one, I can play the full Jimi Hendrix solo and rip. Yeah, but maybe you should go to Spain and learn how to play Spanish guitar. You learn all these other things, and then it just evolves that much better,
Yeah.
And that Japan story was probably the hardest trip and place I've ever been to, but definitely one of the coolest places I've ever been. If one of the funnest trips I've ever had, And if I ever run into Christian Fletcher, I owe you one. Thank you,
right.
dude.
Surf Splendor.